Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edgar Champagne. We'd like to welcome you into the Road to Wellness. And the star of the show is Dr. Stanley Himes. We'll be getting acquainted with Dr. Himes. And this program is brand new to CTV Beam. We're so happy and overjoyed to be a part of the Alabama community. And we wanted to bring some very, very good steps toward wellness over here on a road to wellness. In other words, in the words of Dr. Himes, there's no greater drive than being on the road to wellness. Dr. Himes, you know, you're like a West Coast transplant over in this area, and tell us a little bit of how you grew up as a young man and getting over to where you are now.
Right. Grew up in Los Angeles and was born and raised there. Went to UCLA. Got interested in medicine after working with my sister during the summer before I started college. She's a veterinarian. So decided I wanted to work with people and not animals. Went off to medical school at UC San Francisco. And got interested in anesthesia initially because I liked the concordance of physiology and pharmacology and doing that. And along the way, moved to Georgia back in 2002 and started noticing along the way that people were an increasing prevalence of obesity, heart disease, cancer, diabetes. And I just felt that traditional medicine wasn't doing anything about it but putting on a Band-Aid. So I wanted to do something in a holistic alternative medicine wellness vein to help people. And I had learned, I did a fellowship in anti-aging medicine in nutrition and metabolic medicine and became board certified in that. And realized that nutrition is 75% of the problem of chronic disease, is what people are eating. And then the other part is other things that people can do. So I want to use this show to tell people that there are things that they can do on a natural basis to make them healthy and well.
I see. Well, when you said fellowship, when you did the fellowship to get more acquainted with wellness and that approach, what does that entail?
It entails going to lectures, writing papers, doing research in various areas, so that we want to use nutrition and herbal therapy, but we have to have scientific studies that prove that they work.
I see. Scientific studies.
Correct.
I see. All right.
So you have scientific studies to show placebo where a person isn't taking something versus when they are taking, say, an herb, and you see a change in heart attack rate, stroke, or whatever.
I see. Okay. Well, now, at one point, we were on the radio together, you and I,
Right.
and when you had Himes Health and Wellness. In that particular practice, you were able to get people to, I guess, diminish the amount of calories they intake and different approaches to eating?
Yes, that's a good question. It's not just about calories. It's a lot of the foods that we eat are inflammatory. The standard American diet, we call it SAD, consists of foods that are high in fat, high in calories, low in nutrition. And this ends up people becoming overweight, and the problems associated with that, diabetic, high blood pressure, stroke. So, you know, my use of food is to use food as a medicine. Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine." For most Americans, food is poison.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, no greater drive than being on the road to wellness. Let's talk about your diet, because you look pretty healthy, pretty slim and everything. What do you consume in terms of nutrition to be on that road to wellness?
Slowly over time, I've moved away from eating meat because my research has shown that particularly red meat is inflammatory. The way cows are raised is that they start out on eating grass, but to fatten them up before slaughter, they send them to the feedlot and they eat corn. And cows are not meant to eat corn. So, you know, a cow has 4 stomachs, and a lot of these cows get very ill, very inflamed off of this. Corn is a good food source to fatten them up because it's cheap, and they put on a lot of weight quickly. So a lot of these cows don't make it to slaughter because they get so sick from the corn. So they're inflamed. We in time eat that same meat, and we have the same kind of problems. So I've moved away from eating red meat. So I try and eat plants, whole foods, because they're very nutritious. They are very dense as far as filling you up. but at the same time, not a lot of calories.
Well, you know, from being on the radio with me for back in the day, I understand that you used to grow some of your vegetables
Yeah,
and all
I'm
that.
still growing.
Well, being a doctor, how do you find time to handle your busy schedule as a doctor, the family life, personal life, and then be able to grow things as well?
It doesn't take that much time. All you need is a wood box, throw some dirt in it, throw some seeds in it, and just every day you water it a little bit, and pretty soon you have plants. You know exactly where they came from, you know there's no pesticides on it, and you know it's healthy.
I see. Dr. Stanley Himes with the Road to Wellness. Well, now on this road, we're going to talk about several things that the public can really, I guess, be educated on, including incorporating things that you and I both use in our diets and what have you. One of the things that there are several categories of fruits and vegetables. There's a good list and a bad list that we want to cover
Right.
a little later on. And but I'd like to get back to part of you coming into Columbus, Georgia. When you go to the store, and there are certain areas that we should pay attention to when you go in a grocery store. Talk about that for a moment.
Right. I tell my patients that the part of the grocery store they should be in is where the fresh fruits and vegetables are, and in the back where there's some dairy. The part in the middle is off limits. So I tell people, do not eat things out of a box or a can. Now, frozen vegetables are fine, but anything that's processed is bad, and process causes when you process food, you take out all of the good stuff. You take out the omega-3s and all of vitamin D, because we are in competition with bacteria and fungi in the environment. So that food has to sit there for weeks and months on end. So when you eat that, that causes you problems. It causes you problems with your GI tract and other things.
I see. The Road to Wellness, ladies and gentlemen, with Dr. Stanley Himes. I'm Edgar Champagne. We're going to come back in just a moment after a few pauses from some of our sponsors. We'll be right back on The Road to Wellness.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
Welcome back to The Road to Wellness. Hi, it's Edgar Champagne. We're with Dr. Stanley Himes, The Road to Wellness. There's no greater drive than being on the road to wellness. Dr. Himes, we were just talking about the SAD and going in grocery stores and the parts where we find the really healthy stuff, the good food, and the things that we should stay away from.
Right.
Let's talk about some dirty fruits that people may not know about right now.
Right. The Environmental Working Group, where you can go online, it's called EWG.com, has a list that they put out every year. And this has to do with the fruits that are high in pesticides that are on them and the ones that are low. So we have the dirty dozen fruits that have high pesticide rates on them. Mm-hmm. And those, if you can afford it, you need to buy organic if you can. So we're going to go over some of those one at a time. One is spinach or lettuce. Those are sprayed a lot with pesticides. So you need to make sure when we're talking about washing fruits, and we'll talk about that later, that you wash everything you have, whether they're organic or not. Okay. The second thing is strawberries. So you see a lot of these are leafy plants and have soft surfaces.
I see. Let's go back for a moment on the spinach, because I eat a lot of spinach.
Yes.
The spinach that we'll go to in the big box stores, for example, Costco's and Sam's and what have you, they're prepackaged and they got on there printed up very plainly, washed 3 times.
Yeah.
Probably not enough. But
Right.
the point I wanted to ask was, how deep is that pesticide going to be into the fiber of the leaf itself? And
Well, what you need to know about pesticides is that they are oil-based.
I see.
The petroleum companies started when they were in the 1900s. They broke into the pharmaceutical industry, and the pesticide industry. So all pesticides are oil-based. So if you use water or any of these things in the store to get it off, you're not getting anything off. So I tell my patients to use Dawn liquid detergent that you use to wash your dishes with. Dawn has a compound in it that gets oil out. You'll see on the commercials that they run when the birds are in the oil slick that they put Dawn on them to get the oil out. So it does the same thing with getting the pesticides off of your fruit and vegetables.
Yeah.
So you just take your lettuce and you put a couple of drops in some water, soap it up in some cold water, put the vegetables in there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then wash it off and it's gone.
Yeah. A thorough washing, obviously, though.
Yeah. I mean, actually just sitting in there is all it takes.
I see.
It just wash it off, and then you just wash the Dawn off and go on about your business.
And that's for spinach and like our greens or cabbage.
So
and
we're
whatever?
going to go over these. Any vegetable, any fruit, all of them.
Okay. What's next on the list?
Next on the list is nectarines.
Nectarines, okay.
And then we have apples, grapes, peaches, pears, tomatoes, celery, potatoes, sweet bell peppers. So I mean like green bell peppers, red, yellow, orange. And then we have hot peppers. So habanero, any of the hot peppers, those are high in pesticides. So these all need to be washed. You never brine your fruit and bring them home and eat them without putting them in the Dawn and getting that pesticide off.
There's a YouTube video floating around where you can see some wax coming off the apples. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen that one, sir? Well, you would use the Dawn on strawberries, on peaches.
Everything.
It seems like it would get into the texture of it. It wouldn't?
No. But I tell people don't rub it into it.
Yes, sir.
Just put it into the water, soap it up, and then it does its job there.
I see. Okay. The Dirty Dozen.
That's the Dirty Dozen. So these fruits and vegetables you really need to buy organic if you can. So then we have the Clean 15.
Okay.
So these are ones that you can buy conventionally. You don't necessarily have to buy organic. They have a low pesticide rate. Avocados is one. Avocados are a really good fat. Sweet corn, surprisingly, because the ear of the corn is up, covering up the corn.
Sure.
So I think a lot of the pesticide does not get to the corn. Pineapples, again, the fruit's inside a hard shell. Cabbage, onions, sweet peas, and I have here frozen, interestingly enough.
I see.
So I tell people, like with peas, buy them frozen. That's fine. That's just as nutritious. Because when things are in tin cans, that aluminum gets into the fruit. Because they have to be, when they can them, they have to make sure that there's no botulism, so it's at an acidic rate, and that leaches the aluminum out.
Sure.
And you're eating that.
Sure. And then those cans, I happen to know from working as a young boy up in Gary, Indiana, those cans have a certain coating, a shellac on it.
That's right.
And that can seep into the chemical itself, the food
right.
at least.
Papayas, asparagus, surprisingly, mangoes, eggplant, honeydew melons, and that would go for watermelons too. Kiwi, cantaloupe, cauliflower, and broccoli. So these are clean for the most part. Now, that doesn't mean you don't wash them.
I see.
You wash all of your fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
It just means that you don't necessarily have to get those organic.
But the eggplant doesn't seem to have a very thick shell. Look like you.
It's thicker than you think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
And-
one of my favorites, but
Yeah.
it's good. It's good for you.
Let's go back and talk about those were on the dirty fruits. If you can't buy organic,
Right.
and you have to go and just buy what the farmer in Buena Vista, the farmer in Dawson, Georgia, or Auburn or wherever.
In Columbus we have a farmer's market. I think in Alabama we may have one too. On Saturdays the farmers come in and bring their produce in, and that's a great place to get it. Talking about spinach, I really don't like to get spinach or lettuce for that matter in these plastic
Bags.
bags or boxes.
Yeah.
Every so often you hear there's been an infestation of romaine lettuce or spinach, and invariably in these plastic prepackaged.
I see. I always,
Containers.
and I didn't know I will stop from now on, but I've been buying mine in the bag, but I try my best to look for anything that could be starting to wilt
Right.
because the gases from that wilting will get into other parts of the leaves and everything else. So I try to get that little group away, wash it real good and everything, and then really have some high heat, like a stir fry.
Yeah, the problem, see, now, then when you go into the other edge, we're talking about high heat, you don't want to overcook your vegetables.
I see.
Because I tell my patients, live people don't eat dead food. And the more you cook it, all of the vitamins and nutrients are going up in smoke.
Yeah. I put a top on it. Hey, we're talking with Dr. Stanley Himes. This is the Road to Wellness. There's no greater drive than being on the road to wellness. We're going to come back and talk with Dr. Stanley Himes in just a little bit and get more information that'll help you at home, and you'll be on that road to wellness. Dr. Himes is a Los Angeles native. He's in Columbus, Georgia. We'll have information on how you can get in touch with him and myself. We got a Facebook page coming, several things, including a few prizes we'll start giving away as we get over into the season at CTV Beam. I'm Edgar Champagne with Dr. Himes. We'll be right back after this.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. It's got nothing to do with fairness. Bam, your whole world changes in an instant. And you never see it coming. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke. I'm Paul George, and I want you to learn the signs of a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. Because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Protect the ones you love. Spot a stroke, F-A-S-T, fast.
Welcome back. It's Edgar Champagne with Dr. Stanley Himes on the Road to Wellness. There's no greater drive than being on the road to wellness. Dr. Himes, we've been talking today about the Dirty Dozen, the Clean 15. We talked about the SAD group. And, you know, it's very important to get people to realize how we got where we are right now. Right. With all the internet, the telephones, the cell phones, traffic, exhaustion from cars and everything else. Let's talk about when times were really, really healthy and people had exercise, they weren't smoking as much and stuff like that.
Right. So back in the 1900s and afterwards, United States is primarily an agricultural society. So families lived on the farm. Prior to the incandescent light, the only light they had was a lamp. So people were not exposed to all this light at night. So the human body is made for us to be awake during the daylight hours and asleep at night. So in a future program, we're going to talk about the importance of sleep. Mm-hmm. And so people would wake up with light in the morning and they would work very hard during the day. Come home, eat, and when they would have something sweet, it would just be a little bit, and that was enough. They ate foods that were fresh because they had no refrigeration. So now we have refrigeration, so we can pack all kind of stuff in there. And so people exercise. They weren't sitting around watching TV all the time. Now we have kids that are growing up and this is the exercises
Right.
they're getting with their fingers as opposed to getting out and, when I grew up, we went out and played. We played hard.
That's right.
And by the time you got to dinner, you were hungry.
Sure.
So I want to talk about some things that, some of the habits that we have that are bad for our health. Smoking. So smoking contains over 4,000 different chemicals. We know it causes all different types of cancer, including lung cancer and others. It decreases your circulation. So people who are heavy smokers, they have lung disease, they have peripheral vascular disease, they end up getting amputations because of that. increases the rate of diabetes, all of that. So now we have vaping that's coming in. Now the tobacco companies have realized that people are not smoking as much anymore. The smoking rate in the United States is at an all-time low. So they've moved into buying vaping. And so vaping, unfortunately, is being marketed to young people. And so in our schools, we're having middle schoolers and high schoolers vaping. And these little vapings, particularly Juul, they look like a flash drive. This is nothing more than a nicotine system to get it into your lungs. And nicotine is very bad, but high doses. So one of these Juul vaping cartridges gives you a pack of cigarettes as far as the nicotine it gets, just one, which is incredible.
Is there any research, as far as you know, that would determine when you do vape or you smoke a cigarette and you have the nicotine, the smoke gets into your cells, how that affects the digestive tract and the chemical that mixes in with our...
Not digestive tract per se, but it certainly has an effect on all of your cells. And you know, the most cells that it has on are in the lungs, and so that changes how they act, and so a lot of times they become cancerous. So I want to talk about another thing about exercise, the importance of exercise. On a later show, we're going to talk about exercise and what that does for your health. A lot of people at the beginning of the year particularly, they join the health clubs and they get into exercise, and that usually lasts about 8 weeks and then they stop.
Yeah.
But exercise is important to do, I would say, a good 4 or 5 times a week, 30 minutes a day. I'm talking about aerobic exercise, where you get your heart rate up. You don't have to run a marathon. In fact, for most people, that's too much. You can overtrain, and that's deleterious to your health.
Sure.
So you can walk, you can run, you can dance, you can play tennis, whatever you want to swim. Swimming is great. So exercise does something as far as your glucose, your insulin sensitivity. A lot of people who are pre-diabetic and diabetic are insulin resistant. And we're going to talk about that later, what that means. And exercise improves that and helps the insulin to work better.
When people are at work in their cubicles and they have 30 minutes for lunch, what would you tell, what's an intelligent approach to trying to go, if you have to go to a fast food chain to get something?
No, you don't go to a fast food chain. That is not food.
Okay.
You bring your food. You make your food and you bring it.
I see.
Fast food is death food. That is not food. Just like when you go to the market and you look at something and you look at it on what the ingredients are, and it has things you cannot pronounce and your grandmother wouldn't know what it is,
Yes, sir.
You should stay away from that. That is danger.
Okay. So you need to take the time out to make something at home and take that to work, a
And take that
sandwich
to
or
work. Right, a salad. Plus other protein.
Fruit.
Remember, you can get protein not just from meat or fish or chicken. You can get protein from beans. That is a healthy protein that you can take. Most Americans do not get enough fiber. Fiber is very important to our digestion and to our health. You only get fiber from plants. You do not get it from red meat. You do not get it from chicken. You do not get it from fish. You only get it from plants.
Yeah. Well, on our next show, we're going to be starting to talk about sleep and exercise and everything. Give us a tease on something on the importance of sleep. Because some people sleep with a television. Is that a yay or a nay?
No.
Television's on.
No. Sleep is of the utmost importance. We spend 1/3 of our life sleeping. So sleep is so important for your health. If you don't get enough sleep, you can put on weight.
Oh.
You can increase your rate of heart attacks. So I tell people that the bedroom is for 2 things. It's for sleep and it's for sex.
I see.
That's it.
That's it.
You don't want your TV in there. You go to another room and watch the TV and you come back. The bedroom is for sleep, and you want your bedroom to be dark.
Dark. I see.
As dark as possible. So you need to have heavy curtains in there. You don't want lights coming from an alarm clock. All that light has an effect upon us and to mess up your sleep.
I see. Dr. Stanley Himes, ladies and gentlemen, the show is called The Road to Wellness. There's no greater drive than being on the road to wellness. I'm Edgar Champagne with Dr. Himes. In our upcoming series of shows, we're going to be talking about exercise. We're going to talk about the benefits of smoking, more on that. Several things that we can talk about.
Not the benefits of smoking.
the benefits of not smoking. I'm sorry.
Not smoking.
Yes, I beg your pardon. On the road to wellness, we want to thank you all for joining us this evening, and we'll be back next week with CTV Beam's brand new show, The Road to Wellness. And remember, there's no greater drive than the drive to the road to wellness. We'll see you next time.